Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we are doing a bit of a psychological self-audit. And honestly, it might get a little uncomfortable. We're going to decode the logic of the Dunning-Kruger effect, what we call the mirror of incompetence. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Are you actually as smart as you think? I mean it. Take a second and let the weight of that question really sink in. It's kind of a heavy one, right? Human nature dictates that we all immediately want to shout, yes, absolutely. But, the human mind is incredibly skilled at tricking us.
So, psychology reveals this truly fascinating paradox. The absolute biggest sign of low intelligence, it isn't a lack of information. It's not a failure to read enough books. It's actually the deeply held belief that you are already smart enough. We just naturally assume that skimming, say, one Wikipedia article makes us an expert. But the reality is the exact opposite.
To understand why this happens, we have to look at how the brain works. This brings us to the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's a psychological phenomenon where our confidence grows so much faster than our actual competence. When you only have a limited, surface-level understanding of a subject, your brain takes that tiny bit of knowledge and creates this dangerous, false illusion of total clarity. You feel like an absolute master, simply because, well, you don't know enough yet to actually see your own blind spots. It's like a mental trap.
And that brings us to a pretty hard, gravity-filled psychological truth. The moment you think you have nothing left to learn is the moment people realize you're not wise, just loud. True intelligence is reflected entirely in your willingness to actively question yourself. It is never, ever found in your ability to just shout over others or dominate a room with baseless certainty.
So let's break down how to actually spot this in the real world. Sign number one is having extreme certainty on complex topics.
And this brilliantly illustrates what happens when someone lacks the basic awareness needed to recognize their own knowledge gaps. They dangerously mistake a surface-level understanding for seasoned expertise. That right there is low cognitive flexibility, basically feeling intensely certain about literally everything. High intelligence, on the other hand, is fundamentally characterized by doubting your own conclusions. Truly brilliant minds approach complex systems with extreme caution, precisely because they understand just how much they don't know.
Which brings us to the so what factor for our first sign. I want you to reflect on this directly. If you rarely question yourself, you aren't being decisive, you are simply missing the nuances that a deeper mind would easily see. That unshakable certainty you might pride yourself on, it isn't a strength, it's actually a profound cognitive blind spot.
And that builds right into our second internal symptom, the I already know attitude.
Acting as if you've already reached the finish line of knowledge is, without a doubt, the fastest way to completely stop your personal growth. A stagnant mind works overtime to actively avoid the temporary discomfort of not knowing something, mostly just to preserve a fragile ego. But the true engine of intelligence, that is fueled by relentless curiosity and the brave exploration of new, challenging ideas.
Let me state this brutal truth as clearly as I can because it is absolutely vital. Curiosity is the strongest predictor of intelligence. If you think you know enough, you have effectively killed your brain's ability to expand. Literally. Without curiosity, the engine just completely stalls out. You are the one shutting down your own potential.
Okay, transitioning now to the external symptoms, the ones that other people definitely notice about you. Sign number 3 is rigid thinking and ego-driven arguments.
So the crucial point is what psychology calls cognitive rigidity. It's this absolute refusal to adapt when reality shifts around you. Ask yourself, what are you actually defending in a debate? Are you just protecting your image? Holding on to flawed ideas just to win and stroke your ego? Or are you protecting accuracy, bravely changing your opinions when the facts change? Because fake intelligence fiercely protects its ego, while real intelligence relentlessly protects the truth.
Here is why this matters so much. The so what factor for sign 3. Real smart people protect accuracy. Fake smart people protect their image. If your beliefs can't evolve, well, neither can you. The sheer danger of ego-driven inflexibility is that it permanently locks you in place while the rest of the world just keeps moving forward.
Moving right along to sign number 4, confidence without content, which is perfectly summarized as volume over substance.
We have all experienced this for sure. It's that person who just has to be the loudest in the room, interrupting everyone else to loudly explain things they don't actually understand themselves. Volume and noise happen when someone relies on these black and white slogans to oversimplify topics they haven't mastered.
Substance and clarity, on the other hand, come from someone who actually puts in the hard work to truly untangle and simplify complex issues based on a deep, genuine understanding.
Just let this sink in for a moment. Real intelligence creates clarity by simplifying the complex. Fake intelligence creates noise by oversimplifying what it hasn't mastered. There is a massive fundamental difference between creating true clarity for others and just generating empty, oversimplified noise to mask your own limitations.
And that brings us to our fifth and final sign: chronic blame and a lack of metacognition.
This is basically the ultimate defense mechanism, keeping that Dunning-Kruger loop completely intact. When things inevitably go wrong, there's just an absolute inability to look inward. Instead, you see this rapid-fire deflection, blaming the system, blaming your parents, blaming the boss. Every single failure is immediately attributed to external targets. It's a really vivid illustration of incredibly weak metacognition.
And here is the final so what factor that really ties everything together. Accountability is quiet power. If you never evaluate your own decisions, your thinking never improves, and you stay trapped in the exact same behavioral loops. Personal accountability isn't a punishment, it's a tool. In fact, it is the only direct way to break free from the trap of incompetence.
Now, what's really interesting here is the behavioral cure to everything we've just discussed: metacognition. Look, the Dunning-Kruger effect isn't some permanent life sentence. It's really just a thinking pattern. You break it by developing the ability to analyze your own thinking and honestly observe your personal biases. True growth only happens when you push past those reactive defense mechanisms and actually start observing your own mind.
Because at the end of the day, intelligence isn't about appearing smart to others. It's about being incredibly hard to fool, especially by your own mind. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Is your ego currently hijacking your IQ? Take a moment, look inward, and ask yourself, which of these 5 signs felt uncomfortably accurate today? It's okay to admit you might be wrong. That's exactly how you master your mind and keep challenging yourself. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you on the next one.